You're recording everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, this is a public meeting, and like all of our other meetings, they're getting uploaded to the YouTube channel and then a link on the website so people can stay updated even if they can't attend the meetings.
So be careful what you say.
Right, so let's keep it a PG level interaction so that we won't shock the young'uns. Thank you. We have three, so you've come tonight to the Lakeport Area Plan Advisory Committee meeting, and I am extremely thankful to see you here. This is part of the Lake County 2050 project, which is updating county-wide general plan elements, such as the agriculture element, aggregate resource, well, no, that's not part, but our geothermal resources, health and safety, things like that. But we're also updating all 8 of the local area plans. The county is divided into 8 planning areas. Lakeport is one, and the lands that are in the Lakeport planning area kind of curl around. If you picture city of Lakeport, they curl around from the north to the west to the south of the city of Lakeport. And so in our small map exercise today, you'll see aerials and land use designations, probably not just of Lakeport surrounding the city area, but we have divided it into the North Lakeport segment and then the South Lakeport segment. I went over to take a look at Benmore Valley and that more remote area that between us and Mendocino County. There doesn't seem to be a lot to talk about there, so I didn't, but if anybody has interest there, we can definitely cover it. So the 3 things we are doing tonight are considering planning area boundary amendments. We'll do that on the large map. There are a few that have been proposed. Then also on the small maps, we'll be taking a look at the community growth boundary, which is located solely in the North Lakeport area. Like you can see my map in my head, sorry. My gesticulations don't make a lot of sense. Yeah. And we'll also be looking at land use designations for possible amendments in Lakeport as well.
No growth to the south or the west?
Well, not necessarily. So when we take currently the community growth boundary has only been located in the front or in the northern part. Community growth boundaries are the community's way of telling the government where we plan to see infrastructure. So that's where you're going to see your commercial zones, and also your medium to high density residential areas. So it's currently in North Lakeport because that's where we have a lot of our medium to high density residential located. But there's no reason why the LAPAC could not have a recommendation of establishing a community growth boundary in the eastern or southern part of the planning area. So feel free to talk about that. Additionally, it's the land use designation update and the general plan process is a perfect time for members of the public who have projects that they'd like to accomplish in the future to come and place a request before the LAPAC on a land use designation change for their project. It's an awesome way that they're working with the community to make sure that it is consistent with the community's vision in presenting the request, and it saves them thousands of dollars because it just gets incorporated into the update. So if they have a timeline that can be accommodated, with our slow government update timeline, because Lake County 2050 isn't scheduled to finish until the end of 2026. So if they can accommodate that, then they're welcome to present their requests. So we do have one today from Bob Gardner that is included in your small map exercise. First, let's go ahead and start with introductions. I'm Maria Turner, Community Development Director. Why don't you go ahead and do you think this needs to be moved, or can we just, okay, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, we'll go around the table. Just, a little bit about who you are, where you live in the community, and what you're hoping to see happen tonight.
I'm Meg Harper, retired school teacher, been here for about 30 years, and I'm on a community city advisory committee for Measure Z. But I came because, well, I love my community, and I thought I should know what this is. I've been meaning to do it, and
Yay.
that's why I'm here, so.
Awesome. Thank you.
Joanne O'Neill, and I'm a Lakeport citizen, live over by the schools, and I'm fairly newly retired and want to know more about my community too, as Meg does, and so I'm going to whatever meetings that I can go to.
Well, congratulations.
Learn more.
I'm Cornelia Seabrook Davis. I represent, I don't know, I'm a citizen of nowhere, but I've lived here for almost 25 years. I'm part of the Scotts Valley Advisory Council, and I try to participate wherever I feel like somebody wants me to.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Awesome.
Mary Jo Velasquez. I live within the city limits, so it's not part of this planning, but I'm vice president, the Lake County Land Trust Board, and I'm also chair of the Lands Committee and on the Stewardship Committee. And then the northern part is one of our preserves, our first one, Rodman. And then the southern part of this area is the Kulanapo Preserve, which is our newest preserve. So I have a vested interest.
Awesome. That's great.
And I just wanted to, I forgot I work part-time for the Land Trust.
I was waiting for that.
I forgot. I just kind of yeah, so that's.
That's why I was looking
Super.
meaningfully.
Yeah, like, okay, wait a minute, what am I? Oh, yeah, I do that too, so.
Hey, Greg, come on in. Go ahead, Margot.
Margot Kambara. I'm a member of the General Plan Advisory Committee. I represent District 4. So I attend the meetings for the LAPCO for Kelseyville Area Plan and Lakeport.
Awesome.
Kevin Ingram, City Manager with the City of Lakeport, but also I live in the unincorporated area in the Lakeport area, and Maria just knows that I can't resist maps anyway, so.
Map exercises.
And a little background, you are in a great position if you have any questions about the previous Lakeport area plan, because Kevin did that.
Yeah, well, that was done, no, I did not do the
As
Lakeport area
principal.
plan, that was completed right when I started. I worked on the Shorelines Community Area Plan.
You did the
and
land use
Middletown and
map
other
update,
areas.
didn't you, for Lakeport?
I did, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of it.
Go ahead,
Greg
Greg.
Scott, Chair of the Scotts Valley Advisory Committee.
Awesome. Thank you. And another tidbit, I blame Kevin for getting into planning in the first place.
Okay.
He's the fault. He made it sound really interesting.
It's fun, it's sexy.
It was great.
I remember you came to one of the Land Trust things that we had, and you brought up this general planning and made me more aware that ours was super out of date, and that, so please explain that, but and also that because we were so out of date, we probably couldn't qualify for different governmental assistance, I don't know, or when we had no plan.
Right. Yeah, there are a number of plans that jurisdiction is required to have by law, and if they become outdated or aren't updated to the state's satisfaction, it can cost you. It can be punitive, and you lose out on grant funds. We're required to update our general plan every 20 years. And so we're right on schedule for that. But as everybody who's been in Lake County for, at least a year knows, things have changed a lot since 2008. We have new industries, new ag. We've got cannabis that we're dealing with, is integrating that into our agricultural practices, different technology, different sustainable energy possibilities now that we weren't looking at then, new laws that are ensuring that we integrate tribal cultural resource priorities into our community visioning process. And so we're excited. This is a really fun, it's an amazing opportunity right now to participate, have your views shared, because you're here because you love the community, and to really make an impact on protecting what we cherish and supporting change where we think needs to be fixed over the next 20 years. The general plan not only serves as showing grant funders that our applications are consistent with what the community wants, but it also is used every time the planning division processes a conditional use permit. So we have to make sure that the project that is in front of us is compliant with what the community wants to see in that proposed location. So this is a well-loved, well-used document.
And how does that get determined of what the community wants when maybe you have a different idea than I have? So is it something that's voted on by the committee? Or I mean, how do you determine, funnel that all down into a plan that maybe has diverse ideas?
Great question. Right now is where we're gathering all the public input, and you'd be surprised at how consistent people are in all the different planning areas. A number of key issues rose to the top immediately, no matter where you were around the lake, which was preserving the rural character, preserving our small town feel. People want their kids to have safe routes to schools, and a number of things that were actually consistent no matter where. But when we do have differences of opinions, the Board of Supervisors is the deciding body. And so these will all be collected, all this input. We're going to have recommendations probably by the end of this month that'll inform the draft writing of the updated documents. Then that will go through a public review process. So we're going to come back around in May and have probably additional LAPAC meetings to review the draft area plans. The General Plan Advisory Committee is looking at countywide elements, and will also take a look at local area plans. We have a whole year of environmental analysis that will take the project as we have gathered it through the recommendations of this process we're finishing up right now, and take a look at the environmental impacts of the changes that they see in our general plan. There will be public input sought for that process as well. And so by the time it gets to the Planning Commission in a noticed public hearing, and the Board of Supervisors in another noticed public hearing, it will have had multiple opportunities for the public to share their input. And then it'll eventually get to that board hearing for consideration, modifications, or approval. And then it goes to the state, where it gets cross-checked against state regulations to make sure that it meets all of their requirements as well.
And that should be done by 26?
End of 2026.
End of 2020.
Yeah, we plan to have it submitted to the state by that period. So the Board of Supervisors allocated $1.2 million from ARPA funds, what is that acronym? American Recovery something. So out of those funds, to bring in contracting planner firm support to help with staff resources for this effort. But because of the funding source, we do have strict deadlines on things. So that's why this has been kind of a frenzied fire hose of public input events through this last month. Is because we are working on a very ambitious goal of updating not just the countywide elements, but all 8 area plans. Oh, and we threw in a climate adaptation plan because we got funding for that. Yeah, good one, huh? And simultaneously, we're working on a drought resiliency plan and got funding for a housing action and implementation plan, which will inform the housing element part of the general plan at a later date. So we have all of these long-range planning documents that are meant to be community vision-driven documents, all happening right now at the same time, and a number of them are actually informing each other. So this is like this one time when you can get the biggest bang for your buck of investing your time to make sure that what you consider priorities are reflected and included.
Okay.
I hope I answered your question. I kind of just started launching off on another thing I usually talk
You
about.
answered even some she didn't
Okay.
ask.
Yeah. Okay.
That was great.
I'll try to be concise. So I see people have the project on the top. Why don't we just start with that? This is a request from Bob Gardner, who owns parcels in North Lakeport. There are 4 parcels, I think, or no, maybe it's 1 parcel. If you take a look at the colored map below you that has the 2 sides of yellow. Good. Okay. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I don't need to hover over you. Awesome. So he's interested in seeing these existing parcels be used in the future for senior housing and sort of communal housing groups like a duplex or a quadplex. And let's see where the property is located. Okay, so it's right here in the middle. See where it's R3, that orange part, which is our high-density residential. And then up here is rural residential. This is the parcel I think that he's talking about. Wait, let me make sure I'm telling you the right stuff. 6th Avenue, 6th Street, there. Yep, okay. He is, now, so this is the parcel. It's flat down here, but then slopes up toward the freeway, or toward the highway. He would like the land use designation to change from rural residential, which is 1 dwelling per 5 acres, to be consistent with this high density residential, which is below, and have it limited to that area that is low slopes. So you see right in that area. I didn't think to give you a slope map, but you can kind of see it on the contours, yeah.
Is this Lakeshore here? I'm kind of like confused.
Yeah, this is North Lakeport.
Okay.
If you zoom out, it's Walnut Drive, which is in the North Lakeport area. Let's take a look at North
that
Lakeport
gated-
aerial
Is that the
too.
gated community?
Past it.
Oh, it's past it, okay, got
If
it.
you take a look on this aerial view, you can kind of see a little better, but actually I didn't really zoom out, huh? Yeah, this is Lakeshore Boulevard off, yeah. And then further zoomed out,
Well, there's two-sided maps here.
yep, yeah, the bottom batch is two-sided.
So it's this right here, right?
I think so.
Right here, yeah.
Where?
Down,
Right above Lakeport Planning Area, where it says there?
yeah, so if
South
you,
Terrace,
You're on a different map.
it's down for here.
below the Lakeport planning area.
Where's,
If you-
where's People Services?
Oh, okay, I see. So if you see that title, Lakeport Planning Area?
Yeah.
And you go down about 1.5 inches, it's right there. You'll see Walnut Drive. It's just right there bordering
So
Walnut.
Walnut, so this is who?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't see 6th Street, it's not labeled, but
I see where I am now.
see where you are?
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, no, that was good.
North of Walnut Drive.
It is, yep, it should be just,
This is older homes on there.
yeah, this curly thing right there, that's Walnut Drive.
Yeah,
So it's adjacent to Walnut Drive.
Okay. Yeah, so that's it.
We
so,
talked about this last time.
Did we talk about this one? I know we talked about Patty Kelly's.
We talked about it the last meeting.
On the
Oh,
Zoom
we
meeting,
did, didn't we?
On the 6th
Okay, good.
is when he explained it.
I could not remember. I remembered Patty's. I didn't remember this one. Well, we approved it then, right?
Yeah.
But just to give you a little more information, yeah, it would be limited to the flatter areas on the southern part of the parcel. It'll go to high density residential so it can accommodate senior housing.
Right here.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions?
well, what is developed on Lakeshore? What, is that are those homes?
That's a mobile home park, I think.
It's a mobile,
Yeah.
so it's per.
Yes.
That looks like the mobile home park.
Okay, a lot of seniors there.
Oh, I did give you a slope map. Cool. Yeah. So if you take a look at it on the Christmassy looking map, this beige or this gray area is like zero slope, just flat. Then it goes to, it's got this ridge. The green is steep. The yellow is less steep. So the yellow is just 0 to 10% grade. 10 to 20% is in the red, and then it goes 20 and above is in green. So you can see how it's on that flatter portion of the parcel.
That's the part,
Yep, the parcel, you can see just that dividing line. This is the proposed area, right in through here, this yellow area.
But he just wants to build in the flatter areas.
Exactly.
the yellow.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that should be pretty simple.
So he's a developer?
No, Dr. Gardner is actually a semi-retired local doctor in the North Shore area. He's been here for gobs of years.
So his interest is just that we make some of these not, were they?
His request for the LAPAC was that we integrate this land use designation amendment into our recommendations for the update. And you're right, we did talk about it at the last in-person LAPAC meeting.
No, it was in the Zoom.
Was it in Zoom?
Zoom.
Don't listen to me. I do vaguely remember talking about it in the past.
Now, when you look at the overall need and how we fit in with the rest of the county, housing is huge, especially for seniors.
Oh, yeah.
That can't afford it. And so, looking at everything there, I think it's a start on trying to meet the needs of the future. We're gonna have more and more retired people moving here.
And it's just
The cost of
perfectly
living.
located.
Right, yeah. In fact, the intersecting road on 6th Avenue, they were all stubbed out there with anticipated future development.
Right.
And why would,
Well, this, if, I don't know if this parcel is owned by him, right, all the way up?
It stops at that red line in
Right, it goes
between
up to
4th and 5th.
here,
Yep,
right?
and goes all the way up there.
Because, I mean, even though it's slightly steeper, there's a flat section up here. That.
Just access to that was, yeah, that's not part of his intended project, so he's only asking for the land use designation amendment and the bottom part.
So are we focusing on saying that we agree with this, that this is something
Yep.
good? Or
Yep.
Where our goal is tonight?
If we have consensus on that, then we integrate it into the recommendations.
Consensus achieved.
I'm looking around, nodding heads,
I have
super.
something to, if it's gonna be something like that, would somebody or the community, like if they wanted to make part of it a walking pathway, I don't even know what you designate that land, but does it have, can somebody do that with the rest of that other big part, the piece? Can they keep expanding it? Or are they gonna have to, is it allowable into the current plan?
Like a trail system?
A trail system or, some kind of walkability for seniors? Could somebody do that or is it not zoned for that?
Well, it's a 30% slope, so it's kind of
That's
quite a
good
hike for
exercise.
seniors. Yeah.
For us.
But it's
That's
this
what's
guy's
good for
property.
you.
It would probably be, yeah, it would be up to the property owner at that time. We do have policies in a number of our planning areas, probably in Lakeport as well, that the government should support and encourage development of an integrated trail system to connect particularly like residential areas with commercial. That has been covered in a number of LAPAC meetings also.
I just didn't know what the rest of the land is zoned as.
It would stay in rural residential, which allows for primary residential or primary agricultural uses, but it's also indicative of some more of our like rolling hills and our steeper slopes going out towards those rural lands, or more of our outskirts, the mountains that we have surrounding us.
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand how much of the land he wants to build on, but there is whatever, he just
think
wants
the
to build on
yellow.
lower part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Exactly, yeah.
The orange part, right?
Yeah, he's looking to eventually subdivide it into those parcels, but to support it in high-density residential for senior housing options.
mean,
And then most of it would be left the same.
if you draw an imaginary line from 6th Street to Eucalyptus.
You're right.
He's kind of looking at that area, is that correct?
That's what he said at the
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay.
It would just sort of be like that entrance, a logical entrance points to each of these roads, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
My only concern would be that, given some of the state law changes now, if you zone it R3, all those are gonna be uses by right, correct? I mean, so you don't really have another opportunity. So I mean,
Is anybody sitting here?
No.
Okay.
because I don't know that you're not gonna have an opportunity to condition the project.
We would probably, yeah, anywhere we can, we're gonna try to steer multi-residential development towards ministerial. So, yeah.
So the question would be, because I mean, some of the problems we ran into Lakeport is when we have the higher density housing. Hillview and Walnut Drive, access-wise, are they adequate to serve high-density residential? because you're not going to get an opportunity to condition it.
True.
What do you mean condition it?
Used to be able to, with high-density housing, they would be subject to some sort of discretionary review permit, and you might be able to add conditions of approval to a potential project to improve access,
sure,
or
that's a
things
good
like that. The state has changed that and is required of local jurisdictions to allow ministerial approval or approval by right for some of these projects.
Like widening one of those access roads or something.
Correct, you wouldn't be able to do that, which may not be an issue. I mean, I haven't been
The
out
other
in
thing
those
is,
areas.
heavy equipment like fire equipment, they'll set up, turn around within that area as well as.
I mean, building permits
Evacuation. How do
will
you evacuate?
still allow some opportunity for those. It's just a matter, like you were talking, Meg, about, putting conditions for walking trail. You're not gonna have that opportunity with it, but I mean, the demand and the need is there. I mean, I think we would encourage any sort of high-density housing. It's
And I
just-
remember him saying that the top of his property is also flat and would be a perfect place for that kind of access.
Yeah. But I don't know that, I haven't been down Walnut Drive in a long time, but those are tiny access roads, 5th, 6th, and 7th, and I don't know, what kind of access for, high-density housing and different things. I mean, just something to consider.
Yeah, you could put a clause in there, providing that access is.
I don't think you can, though. That's.
But we can keep it in
can?
mind.
They may do it willingly. I mean,
Right.
Joanne just asked me if I'd lived there, and I said, well, I'd live there if I could walk. I'm not gonna go out on Lake Shore, it's freaking scary. And I
Yeah.
walk all over. And that concerns me, is that walkability.
Well,
And-
I think someone like you wouldn't
We wouldn't live there, yeah.
But we need to bring health to our community, and you don't bring health to the community by putting high density and no ability to walk.
We are looking at multimodal transportation goals when we're updating the circulation element also. Yeah.
High-density housing is necessary for senior housing.
I
You have to
understand.
have support close by.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's a great spot. You said it was a good spot, I was wondering why. But that's not really the issue here for this. I mean, I wouldn't move there because I'd be concerned about fire and it's not close to town where I can walk and that sort of thing. But if there are people who want to live there,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't
Affordability.
live there either,
affordability, yeah, that's a good one.
but that's because I'm lucky and I have somewhere else to live.
And there's plenty
I'll
of
just
streets
add
around here
a
for
condition, they
walking.
put treadmills in each house.
Yes,
That's
I
not
think
the
it's a great
same.
out in nature.
I've always been, having worked on some area plans in the past, I mean, this happens quite often, that you'll get a lot of, project proposals that will come in, because it is a considerable cost to a developer to do the rezone and general plan amendment on their own, but sometimes it's best to consider those projects on their own merit rather than as part of a larger. I like Bob. Bob's done some really phenomenal things in the community, but, you also have to kind of keep in mind that, he can sell that off to anybody, and they may have a different vision, but that R3 zoning and general plan designation is gonna stay there, through that whole time period. But
True, and there would be no guarantee that it would be used for senior housing.
On the
It would be
other hand-
used for multifamily residential development of
you are
some
always
kind.
searching for adequate areas to add R3.
Sure are. Yep.
Okay,
So-
so we need more R3.
We do, yeah.
Of whatever
Look around
kind.
here, there's a ton of streets there that are all connected to that property,
Yeah, there are.
Which,
just below it.
Those little side streets, huh? Those-
but I haven't, it's been a while since I've been on 5th, 6th, and 7th. Those are really tiny streets, if I remember correctly. They're principally designed for access to the 1 or 2 houses that are there.
Yeah, that's
And I
what
don't know that they're
Yeah.
adequately sized to serve a high-density housing resident. So I mean, in all honesty, you're probably looking at Hillview Drive being your primary access point to any future development up there, which may be fine. That may not be a problem.
Kind of his problem, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. It's just-
Yeah, that's actually, there's lots of opportunities here.
I mean, it's not that far from Lakeshore.
No, and
Right.
that trailer park in front, I mean, has there been any issues with that? Or mobile home park or whatever this is?
I'm not aware of issues, however, mobile home parks are under the state jurisdiction, so I don't know that I necessarily would have heard of anything.
Right, but I mean, from some kind of input, if this were a area of concern, I would think we would know about it.
I'm thinking that the development that would take place down in this area would be consistent to kind of what you're seeing next door to it, even though that is low-density residential. The parcels are really small.
Yeah, they're not.
Right,
And
right.
so you're probably seeing about the same density that you would fit on,
Well, he's not
on the
gonna go
R3.
according to the codes and all that, and so
They'll
it's
still
pretty
be-
much as far as meeting those standards, if he's committed to actually putting in that, that type of building in there, that senior development in there, the codes would have to be involved and so forth. As far as developing beyond that, I think he needs, if he's gonna be renting or selling out those for a senior thing, there ought to be input from the, whether they're gonna have what do you call that, a group a panel that tells you what house you can paint green
HOA?
and green. Yeah, if you wanna get involved with that, or putting in walking paths or diving boards over cement, that's the things they get, discussed. But I think it's a good project to share with the county to say, possibly this is a way that, like I said, I think the future of our county, when you talk about agriculture and you're talking about tourism, but the cost of living, seniors, more seniors want to come here, I think. I think that's a huge start, and this is a way of drawing people in. Now you're expanding the business downtown to people and shops and so forth, and maybe some of these vacant buildings become full again, because there's enough demand for businesses. So I think that's senior living in a lot, look at Hemet, California, huge, and Sun City, Riverside, huge senior communities, huge. And they cater to those things, walking parks, whatever, and transportation, and they flourish because of so many people that are there, and the shopping and the economy is pretty good there.
So like you said, you don't think that it'll be more dense than the housing that's here. It's just because this is sown differently as this, it's like.
I think it'll
these
end
are
up looking
coordinated.
about the same.
Yeah.
These are less than 6,000 square feet per
But so, I mean,
parcel.
you can only fit, they're right next to each other, so it would be about the same. And then what about this over
But
here?
then why not, if he's
If one
gonna do
burns, the
that,
next
why
one
not go
burns.
for R1?
Right, because I don't know that
Yes.
these were designed before the 6,000 square foot
Okay.
requirement. So R1 would not be conducive to his project.
Right.
And he's looking at like fourplexes. So fourplexes are not allowed in R1.
And I may be getting confused there too. I may be thinking of some of the streets in Island View. I don't know that I've been down Walnut in a long time.
I think it's a great idea. We talked about it for like half an hour at the last meeting.
It's a good place. It's not going to change the view. I mean,
Right.
it's the rolling hills, you can only go so far up.
The view's
It
this
fits.
way.
It's not
So
like
kind
the-
of
it's not like this
clustering
is
where there
all
already is
rural.
housing.
There's no houses and he wants to plunk it down there in the middle. That would be different, but this fits right in.
This is the lake, right? Yeah.
And you have water and sewer in the North Lakeport area.
Right.
That is something you don't have.
Okay, so I'm gonna take from this that we have a pretty good consensus, noting, of course, some concerns that would be dealt with project level or development level. That was a good exercise for a change in land use designation. If you want to go ahead and take a look at the second packet, sorry, these didn't get stapled together, but you'll see the titles are aerial North Lakeport. Thank you. Okay.
The other side of the page, right?
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, it's still part of what was in front of you. Just separate this stuff, all the Walnut Drive stuff, till you get to,
The ones that don't say Walnut on it.
let's see.
Those, but just.
Yeah, we'll start with North Lakeport. So we have an aerial of North Lakeport. That should be page 1. And then an aerial that I said North Lakeport number 2, because to zoom in so you could get road names, I couldn't get it all onto one page. So, and then the next page should be, might be community growth boundaries, or it could be land use designation. So land use designation, I zoomed out and it says LUD North Lakeport 2. Did I do a North Lakeport 1? Oh my word. I did a community growth boundary of the entire area. Then I think I just did the land use, yeah, of the entire area. Okay, good. All right, so aerial is for reference, so you can kind of get where we're thinking. Did I not do South Main? I know I did South Main. Oh, good, okay, phew. I was doing this while listening to a LAPAC conversation, but they were all like talking to themselves, so it was great. So I was like printing out the maps really fast. Okay, let's start with North Lakeport. You can see the aerial just to get your ground, you get your bearings, and then flip it over and let's find land use designation. So the LUD might be the next page.
The next page.
Yeah, let's take a look at those land uses. So it doesn't have a table, so I'm not expecting it to mean anything to you immediately, but you'll notice in the areas, the yellow is low density residential. The Tetris looking part in the northwest across the highway is the old Cristalago development. See that beige and brown? That was a project that just never quite got off the ground.
Thank goodness.
But it started out, yeah. So anyway, we don't really need to worry about that one. It will focus more on east of Highway 29. And let's see, what else do I see here? The red are the commercial zones. The blue looks like public facilities.
Yes.
Is that the jail then?
No.
No.
Closest hospital, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Say that again.
And the other side is the jail,
Here,
isn't it?
this one.
So red is commercial
Yeah, that's the,
Wastewater.
and
yeah.
blue is,
blue is public facilities, so that's like government stuff. Or I think our jail is over there, and animal control, and,
Right, it is.
and a large wastewater
And this blue.
facility.
and the yellow was,
The yellow is housing, it's residential development, yeah, low density. Orange is medium density. What's the high? High is
Like brown? I don't see
brownish?
the whole
Yeah.
thing there.
brownish.
No, that's city. The gray on the bottom is city. Yeah, because
Brown up there.
yeah, there's some brown interspersed right in through there.
And would be here.
Yes, so that dark brown in the old Cristalago is planned development residential. So theirs was a combined, at first it started out as a golf course centered and then became like a vineyard centered. And so that's where they were going to cluster their housing and then use the other areas for their commercial development.
Okay, so when you said planned residential is brown.
It's that,
High density.
Oh,
that dark, yeah.
There's some along the lake.
Yeah, it's just you can see it splotchy.
Is this the existing?
Yes,
That's what we're talking about.
yes. Then the deep green, like the
Oh,
pine green,
many of
is agriculture, and it signifies prime ag soils and low slopes. The khaki-ish color is rural lands.
So dark green and light green?
Yeah, the light green then in that case, or the more olivey color, that's rural lands. That's where you'll see our steeper slopes. our outskirted areas, we have much larger minimum parcel size there for its reduced developability. Yeah, khaki-ish green. In here you can see it as you start going out of town, that this green, this wad of green is prime ag soils. These are our hilly areas, the rural lands. And the light blue is public, isn't that public lands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean BLM owns it?
It could be,
National Forest.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, state and fed. So, before the LAPAC is just the question of, are there any areas where you would like to see land use designation changes? In similar activities in other planning areas, some of the requests have been to be cognizant of wetlands that we had missed in the designation, because we do resource conservation, which you can see in this sort of aqua, or this like teal. Okay, that's good. Teal. Yeah, the teal lands are they coat or overlie our wetlands and our creeks and lakes.
What happened to this area over here?
I only had 11 by 17 paper. But it continues to go more rural lands, forest.
But
Yeah.
none of that is up for
That's my
change.
place right there. That little-
Not really.
Yep.
I don't think that we would change it, because we tend to, like for areas of commercial development or housing development,
Yeah.
it's better to keep
There's a
it
place next
close
door
to where it already
something, yeah.
is rather than far out. Because
yes.
rural lands, you can have limited residential development,
One point-
like
So
one
we're just
parcel.
talking about
1.09.
Yeah, so we're,
Like, adding more.
If that gives you an idea how to look at that.
in the rural lands have kind of development protections already, in that it's severely limited as far as what size parcel you can have and how many houses or what kind of development you can have.
Right.
So it's mainly preserved for primary ag use. But
we
it's
don't
like
have to
grazed
worry
lands.
about it.
No, we're not going to make any changes. Everything will stay the same unless there are recommendations from the community to do some changes. And some of those changes have mostly been through property owner request, or the shoreline community pointed out a couple areas that are known wetlands that had not yet been put into resource conservation. So we're going to get that caught up and corrected.
What color, what's this light green? Is it the khaki green?
That light green is rural residential. That is where, yeah, rural residential is maybe 5 to 10 acre parcels. It's kind of heading out into our outskirts of the area, but it's like, it's kind of like the phasing in from the hilly outskirts down to our residential neighborhoods, which are all pretty much flat. It's a buffer zone that's showing that it's getting closer to residential. And so it could have smaller minimum parcel sizes, which then means increased residential development, but it also does allow for primary ag uses there as well.
So areas like the Blue Lakes area is part of the Upper Lake planning. Because there are some things that I would like to see up there.
You better go to those
I'm
meetings.
not invited.
We had one already,
They're
but
publicly,
but
it's on your website.
we do have a tool
Think of it till this audit.
on lakecounty2050.org, which is the website that is our hub for this project, where you can submit your comments too. Or you can just email it to lakecounty2050@lakecountyca.gov, which is our email
I'm just
collection
thinking
center.
of the wetlands issue. Because some of those areas are always flooded. It'd be nice to have some of that be designated wetlands so people stop building there so we don't have to keep bailing them out. Literally bailing them out.
Typically, wetlands are identified through a wetland delineation study.
Vegetation.
Yeah, but if you see places that are wetlands or vernal pools that don't have the resource conservation protection designation, then yeah, we want to know about
Yeah,
that.
that's what I was thinking. Because it's, you know,
So-
all that stuff that's underwater, all those cars, all those, everything, it just flows right into Blue Lakes. Every single winter.
Yeah.
We had a call from a resident. I think I forwarded it to you. She had 20-acre parcel with a lake on it. Are you familiar? Was that a wetlands? Do you know what she has?
No, it was.
She said it was near the
It
jail.
was a pond.
A
until
pond.
the water disappeared.
Yeah, okay.
She suspects an illegal job.
That's usually what people tell us.
Yeah.
So it's considered a pond, not a wetland.
Excellent.
It was considered a pond, not a wetland.
Correct. Because she
Interesting.
didn't have wetland vegetation.
No, vernal pond is not either, right?
So does anybody, do we have?
Vernal pools
anybody see
are
a change
protected.
to what we want to see here?
Yeah, so I don't have any specific recommendations, but if there are areas where you would like to see additional commercial development or additional residential, this would be a place to have that conversation.
Do you know of any pressure at all for any of these areas from anywhere about any pressure to be changed?
No, there is commonly a cyclical pressure in that every 6 years, when we update our housing element, the state sends us what's called RHNA numbers, the Regional Housing Needs Assessment numbers. They, in their infinite wisdom, decide, take a look at anticipated growth and every year add or increase the number of potential housing development spots that we have zoned appropriate to accommodate the number that they say we need to meet that year.
Are you recording this? Perfect. I'm using that language the next time I have to talk. That was very diplomatic.
Right.
You are very good.
I've been practicing.
Quick question about this color.
Oh, but wait, let me finish.
Oh, sorry.
So when that housing need, when the RHNA numbers come down, that's when the jurisdictions are really looking to make sure that we have enough residential zoned parcels that can meet that need. Because that's a big spanking if we don't meet that need. One of the things we're doing with the Lake County 2050 update is we inserted a question into our second community survey about how the community feels about mixed use. And because we've never really we've addressed it only on a very, very small level in the county, like a teeny tiny apartment of no more than such square footage if you had this much square footage of commercial. But now we're looking to sort of loosen that up a little bit so that we could have an apartment on top of a pizza place or a small housing unit on the same parcel as a restaurant, something like that. And across all the planning areas, there's been very strong support for that because it really sort of meets our desire for more walkable neighborhoods, for less driving that you have to do, and it's not a high impact on the commercial character of like a Main Street or something like that. It's more subtle. And so that in itself, opening up commercial to residential development is really helpful in meeting what we anticipate to be a very robust RHNA number.
It would make it.
Do you like that word, robust?
A what,
That was
a
good one.
robust what?
Robust RHNA number, Regional Housing Needs Assessment number. Yeah, the hoop that the state's going to give us to jump through, or the number of housing, residentially zoned parcels to accommodate the number of housing at all different economic levels that has to be met for our next 6-year housing element cycle.
What was commercial? Was commercial red?
Red.
So, where Parkway is, I get confused from going to this one, but I think Parkway is right here. Yeah. So we only have commercial on one side. We don't have any commercial on the other side.
Right. That looks like it's rural residential on the other side, right? With a little bit of housing, maybe?
I think there's the fire station
See
right there.
over
Maybe
there.
that's why it's blue.
That's at the intersection of
This intersection.
29 and Parkway.
Yeah.
The intersection of 29 and Parkway is
hospital, right?
Station 2.
The red.
So that's,
The hospital's
Those
the larger blue piece.
Yeah.
There.
So what's
so this blue right there is the fire
This
station.
one
And this is the-
what-
yeah.
what-
Right,
Little-
this little
little
tiny
guy.
piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what's there?
South of the hospital.
Uh-huh.
That's what she's asking.
Which one?
about.
Yeah, is there anything there right now? Is it just empty?
That's vacant. That
That's
was,
vacant.
Sutter owned that lot.
Oh, yeah?
They used to, I don't know if they do still.
So
I love
it's
having
owned,
Kevin here.
It's
This
the
is awesome.
only red commercial area and there's nothing on it?
I mean, it's challenged by slope too. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
it's not an easy parcel to develop.
Well, I say don't change anything for now.
I'd like to see more commercial around this kind of area here. On both sides, I mean, why just one side?
And that is service commercial, that maroon color. That is, so if you're picturing the off-ramps, we've got like the mobile home park. But service commercial is saved for almost like industrial uses that have more dust or noise.
Yeah, you don't want that in downtown.
Yeah, the things that aren't really suitable for where we're going every day, our main streets.
More like factories.
Yeah, factories, processing plants, lumber yards, construction plants, or
I
yards.
always, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I always think of like, so the red, the community commercial, those are kind of commercial lands that are more designated for customers.
Yes.
It's kind of commercial uses that would bring in customers, whereas your service commercial are more, they would be bringing in employees. Workers rather than, they might have incidental customers and those things, but they're primarily serving, those.
But once this plan is presented and developed, I'm sure there's a caveat for changes that before 2050, if there's a need of a change, that could be an
Oh, sure.
addendum introduced to this planning.
This is just one avenue of getting land use designations changed.
So all what we're saying here right now, we don't have the crystal ball in here except for some information we have. So for right now, I don't see that, but understanding that things could change and different zones could be changed in the future for the need. So the plan is a guide to stay in focus of the vision of where we're going, but also be able to be adaptable to make changes should the need of that change exist someday, and allows this plan to accept that change and addend it.
When you were saying you'd like to see more commercial, that's not what you meant, not more factories. You meant more
Right, yeah, like a
stores
gas
and things
station
like
up there,
that.
or, you know, a convenience store that's easy to access.
But I think all of downtown is shown yellow and orange, and that's sort of the commercial that I think you're talking about.
This is more the commercial if it's orange?
Yeah,
Oh.
because that's where
No, that's-
downtown,
No, wait,
Medium density.
right?
yeah, this is all housing, right in through here. This orange is
Lakeport
housing.
is not
But
on
like,
this.
but
Oh,
downtown
where's
is
Lakeport?
down.
The city is right
Yeah, you
here,
can't really see downtown.
It's just
Yeah.
grayed out because we're not considering that.
Right,
right?
but what kind of density would you call downtown in the city then?
Community commercial, the red.
So it would be red, but
Downtown
not like
area.
factory
Downtown.
red.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
pink?
No, it'd be similar to this red right here,
Oh, okay.
or over here by the hospital.
I mean, North Lakeport's unique in that fashion, right? Because I'm sure as you're dealing with the Upper Lake area plan, you're also dealing with the downtown area of Upper Lake, which
But I
is,
think that's what she was referring to.
yeah, I mean, I think you'd be hard pressed to find commercial. I think probably the better avenue would be if you wanted to craft policies in the actual text that said that, commercial should be considered along principal roadways where appropriate or something like that, rather than physically, because I mean, I think most of these around Parkway are developed out. You have the church
Yeah.
on the one side, and you have
You have
residences that are
restaurants
right.
too.
Well, there's
That
a
are
lot
right
of
up
places
there.
they have, across the highway, they have their yards for construction trucks and water trucks and different things like that. So I guess it's a residence that's expanded into having all their equipment there to do projects and so forth. As you drive through that area, that parallel road west of Highway 29, going towards the jail or the area up there, and you take that windy road there, Hill Road East, there's a lot of personal small businesses that have a lot of equipment or pieces of materials stored out there. and they operate, that's their home base, they operate out there. But basically, if we're looking at commercial in that area, I don't see this county being inundated with people that want to go commercial or to be that at this time. I don't know what the future would be, but I don't, with the cost of living, to start a new business and go into commercial.
Especially with the courthouse not going there after
Yeah.
all, you know, yeah.
For example.
I mean, I think it'd be better addressed through policies rather than trying to change the map. For instance, okay, let's throw Crystal Lago aside. Let's not talk about Crystal Lago. But prior to the Great Recession, there was an extreme demand, or there was an extreme number of projects that were focused around the Robin Hill area. And I mean, Robin Hill up here above the
Okay.
hospital. Robin Hill comes out here, and there's a mobile home park at the end, and there's some housing in here. It's possible, slope-wise and stuff, that you might see a demand there. Hopefully not the type of projects we saw back in 2008, but maybe
But
something
it could
to
come back.
And then at that time, there may be a demand for commercial, but I don't see a reason to to change any of the zoning in there. You may want to just have policies in there that, you know, as the area develops out, there may be the need to have more local commercial in there. And I'll freely admit I'm biased. I don't
I
want to
mean,
see
way
it
back,
develop
I
know, well,
commercial.
this-
I know, right?
Part of-
Yeah, I was gonna add that.
It should all be part of the city.
way back on Hill Road East, they had that big golf course development that
That's
Johnny
the Crystal
Miller-
Lago.
Johnny Miller
Yeah.
was interested in, and it just dried up. I mean, they even
Yeah.
did the landscape.
I don't see, I mean, this is topography wise, it's not within, like, if you flip it over your community growth boundary, but Robin Hill is. And it's, I mean, I could see, you know, some additional density moving out to that area. It's got
Are you
good
moving?
access.
Excuse me, everybody, I have another meeting. I have to go to the Big Valley
Advisory Committee?
Committee.
Sorry,
In a
someone
minute.
doesn't know how to say no.
Uh-huh.
Drive careful.
I've noticed.
Night, Margot.
My only other, this is the zoning map, correct?
This should be the land use designation map, general plan, not zoning.
General plan map?
Yep.
Okay.
If I did it right,
Designation.
One of the maps I hated, where it was just kind of this weird checkerboard. This looks consistent with the development patterns in there, so that's.
I like, Kevin mentioned local commercial, which is something that I think we're kind of interested in seeing additional growth during this next update cycle. That's more of like a neighborhood corner store. Something that is there to support kind of the surrounding residential neighborhood. Not so much, yeah, or like a cafe, or just a little deli, something that you'll walk to from your housing area, rather than the main streets, you know, the larger, more regional serving areas. I'd love to see more of those, because we don't really have
Across
that.
from the Oaks Lodge open up again.
Yeah.
Oh, did it? Oh, good. I knew she'd been trying. Yeah.
I thought she tried and they had to give up.
Oh, dear.
It was open the other day.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's customer reviews and all here.
Woohoo!
So I want to circle back to that multi-use idea. Is
Yeah.
that going forward, you think?
Yes, so far that is a consistent,
And that was
consistently approved.
perfect.
Yeah.
For that area if it developed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As an
I
example.
don't know if it's the same, but like San Francisco has all those empty buildings. So they're turning them into residential because if they bring a residential downtown, it brings life to downtown, which has been dying. I don't know if it would do the same here, but in Lakeport, you bring residents closer in by the stores, they buy things in.
Yeah, there's always a balance when you're a city jurisdiction because a lot of your revenue is based on sales tax. And so once you convert a retail space out of retail, you get the demand for services that you get for housing, but you don't get you lose that revenue base. And it doesn't come back.
It's a very perverse incentive in the state of California.
It totally is,
Because
yeah.
the cities are not incentivized in that manner to develop housing because housing tends to be a higher service demand user and not a very high payer.
Right, no tax.
Correct.
Well, that's why if it's
Housing
retail on the bottom
development is
and resident on the top, we
Yeah.
You build all the housing you want in the county and you put all the commercial in the city and we're all fine.
yeah.
The city's very happy.
Which is why, yeah,
But
Kevin
then the
supports
city
maybe a
is
local
there.
commercial growth, but not necessarily.
That's not where you're gonna
Yeah, let's keep the tourists going to the city. Yeah.
That's why the parks are dead and that's why downtown is dead.
Our park is not dead.
No, I'm just saying
Lawton Park is,
after-
jeez.
It's beautiful, but I mean,
Yeah.
after 5, you don't see a bustling crowd because people don't live there. You know, that's what I meant.
I mean, not to get too far off topic, but one of the things that always bothers me is, kind of the way zoning has evolved over time. And I think the pendulum's swinging and we're getting zoning back to that community-based aspect. But for instance, heaven forbid something happened to, any of our historic downtowns in the county, I don't think the zoning ordinance allows them to be rebuilt. I mean, that's, all the things that we like about our development are not technically allowed anymore by our codes. And so we see that flipping and changing, but,
Not soon
Fires out of
enough.
downtown.
not soon enough, yeah. And a lot of that has to do with, parking standards and the different aspects,
Well, I think we ought to leave it alone for now. I think it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the mapping's in really good shape, but I to Meg's
Other
point.
than, you said they're gonna be checking, making sure covered all the wetlands, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I would add that there should be consideration to any larger housing projects to consider some local commercial or mixed-use element to complement their project.
I am making note of that. Thank you.
I do have to ask about this color now.
The brown or the
This
ugly beige?
Cristalago.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, this, I don't have it on here.
What is that? I don't even know what that color is.
This is
You're
where I
right.
live, and this is
Yeah.
over the hill, and what I remember when this was a big drama, it was because of the water that they were going
Yeah.
to take away from somewhere else, and that's, the project dried up, but also because they were just not very nice people.
Well, the project's dead.
Yes,
If you don't
but why
move
is it a
ahead,
color?
that part I'm not sure, unless it's suburban reserve.
I was gonna say, is there gonna be consideration to maybe make that back to rural lands or rural residential?
If there's a recommendation to do so,
Why don't we
to
do
revert
that?
it back,
I think it should, I mean,
yeah, that's kind of why I put it in
Weird,
there.
huh?
I'm sure it's severe fire zone hazard.
Oh, we go over here when we're flooded, so we drive through here, and it's.
Well,
It's
so there is
fantastic.
no project anymore, because after 2 years it expires.
So let's. I
So
would
somebody
like
would
to
have
do
to
that.
start it all over again through the permitting process. And they'd be restricted to what is currently there. And so, yeah, if this LAPAC would like to make a
I would
recommendation that we
like to-
revert that back to what it was before, which was mostly rural lands, yeah, we'll put that in.
What are these things? They're like gross to me.
They're dirt trails.
No, they're the rectangular things.
Could be hoop houses.
That's what I thought.
What are they?
You find all kinds of interesting stuff when you look at the satellite
Oh,
imagery.
right.
Okay,
So yes, I don't know what the process is, but I would like to
if I see nodding,
propose
I'm
that,
good.
yes.
Yeah, recommend.
Put it back into olive green, please.
I would say, look at your slope maps, any areas that are over 20% throw into rural lands and anything less than rural residential.
Good, I like it.
That's a good way to
plan.
put it.
Because I think it is.
And that would include this dark brown spot, right?
Yeah.
And the dark
On
brown were
slope.
high density?
High density.
That's where they were clustering their
Yeah.
homes with their original project.
And so
They
it
had
must be pretty
villas
flat
and-
Now
now.
it's going to go back to olive.
Ah.
It'll go back to either olive or rural residential.
Oh,
It'll go
there's-
either to light green or khaki.
Concentrated on the development.
Yeah, so that it'll then have either 5 to 10 minimum acres or 20 to 60 or more, like the khaki green, the rural lands.
Yeah,
So subdivision options would be
40 over.
limited.
So when you, I assume this is still privately owned land. If, when you change their designation, do you tell them?
Well, technically, I think we're going to need to. Technically, we do sometimes get complaints because these land use designations changed, and the state code tells us that we have to advertise in a local paper in a 1/8 page ad, so a larger size, if it affects more than 1,000 properties, which this is changing our whole county. That's 60,000 parcels. So I'm going to try to remember to do the specific recommendation notifications, especially the ones that weren't based on a request of the property owner, because it's just rude, when we don't let them know.
Yeah, they should know.
I'm not sure who I need. I don't even know. Property owners. Yeah, it's a bunch of them.
Parcel ruler,
Yeah, we'll have property owner information.
yeah, contact the,
There's, as far as I know, nobody lives there.
but somebody owns it.
I think there's like 1 or 2 dwellings out there, but yeah, it's not.
Parcel viewer will have
All the rattlesnakes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's that. If you want
There's a lot
to,
of parcels here.
let's do the same exercise, but for different portions of the planning area. So sort through your packet, and we'll get down to South Main Street.
Right side says Kelseyville.
And Kevin will work on using PG language.
I will keep.
Yeah. Yeah, South Main Street is an area of robust historic.
Conflict.
There you go. We'll go with that. Yeah. All right, so it looks like this. Kind of looks like a field hockey stick, Highway 29. All right, that's the aerial view, just to take a look, just to get our bearings. We've got South Main Street turning into Soda Bay. Is that right? Am I saying it right? Is it Soda Bay here?
Yeah, right at 175. So we're 175.
Yeah, right through
What
there.
are you looking at, Kevin?
So city limits are up here.
He just turned it over.
And if you flip it over to land use designation, you'll see a lot of our service commercial down on South Main Street. So that's where our dock factory. Oh, there's the, yay, good for me. I remembered on this one.
Yeah, there.
Sorry.
Oh, that was resort commercial, that brown.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Brown's Resort.
Resort, my
That
God.
was that was the other one was solar.
All the more reason for it to go away.
Talk about changing the boundary for what's the lake.
Ooh, I forgot that one.
Yeah. that was
Community
important.
growth boundaries. Oh yeah, please. So
So we
flip
want to go
around
back
till you
to that other
find.
one.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Change them?
To this,
We're looking for one solid green, light green blob map. This one.
Todd Road.
Okay. On the other side,
Yeah, sorry.
You've got a lot going on, Maria.
jeez. There it is.
I'm demanding a lot of you guys tonight. So thank you for hanging in there with me.
We want cocktails.
You
we
and
have
me
to
both.
drive
That's how you
home.
really get the ideas.
Yeah.
It could be mocktails.
That might be how Crystal
They're the
Lago
good
came about.
All right. Community growth boundary. This is the area where the jurisdiction assumes we will find public infrastructure, so water and sewer. So it's where our commercial areas and our medium and high density residential areas are definitely located. You can have some, sometimes service commercial is inside community growth boundaries, sometimes it's outside, but it's usually on the peripheries so that it doesn't bug anybody. So to make a recommendation to change or amend a community growth boundary would be telling the county that this is where we anticipate future growth. Or we are already impacted, we need to expand. And so we would like to see municipal water and sewer facilities become available in this area. Now, since we aren't recommending any land use designation changes, I had you do that on purpose first. Because if you were looking for expansions of commercial areas or residential areas, then that would sort of guide a recommendation regarding community growth boundaries.
Right.
Kevin, did you want to add anything?
No, I think that, I would assume that this is mimicking, for the most part, the CSA 21 North Lakeport water boundary. And I think it.
I gave you a water boundary map.
Yes, you did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Blue and white one. Oh, here it is.
So you can see Lakeport right there.
I understand the blue, but shades of blue.
Yeah, so this map actually needs a little bit of explaining because I didn't want Lon to have to draw me a whole new map. So this is an old one from cannabis exclusion zones when they were making them be 1,000 feet away from the sphere of influence of a public and private water district. So the dark blue is the public water districts, I think, and the light blue is private water districts. And they look blobby because it's got a 1,000-foot setback around all of them. But it still gives you, the enclosed area. Just imagine it minus 1,000 feet. So pretty darn close to the exact.
And so this right here includes that Crystal Lago.
Yeah, that's surprising. I didn't realize that.
What did you say?
See where the blobby goes out here? That encompasses the old Crystal Lago for public water.
X-ray.
The one that the recommendation is to change.
So that means this blue thing is going back to here?
The blue thing is a sphere of influence that's already gone through the LAPCO project.
Okay.
So
Well, the
to
bigger the
change
better.
it would be a process that I don't know that they would initiate just on their own. But if there's no development out there, or
Oh,
if
so
it
that
has,
could just, that's most likely within the sphere of influence.
Yeah.
Not within the district. 'Cause I
Yeah.
don't think water goes to the other side of the highway.
I don't think so.
No, it's all wells.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sphere of influence means.
Oh,
that
yeah. So you
it
can
could-
see, yes, that it
developer could
did.
get hooked up to water there.
I'm sure that the Crystal Lago developer probably went through the LAFCO process to get it
Oh, yeah.
served in there, so that's probably where that comes from.
Yeah. So I don't know that
So
they're
do they
really.
lose it? Does that landowner lose that designation when it gets reclassified as not what it currently
They
is?
wouldn't lose this designation, but they'd have to go
Right.
through a land use process to get the density back.
So any place that
Is that a
isn't
hassle?
any blue,
Oh, it is a
So
hassle.
any
It's
blue
well water.
that's
Dark blue is municipal, so that's the CSA
any place
21.
there's no blue at all, it's well water.
you could
Any
be
place there's
bringing
no
down their
blue,
property value.
yes, you would use well water. There are no private or public water districts there.
They should be here.
Well, I think they should be notified for sure. And then you're gonna
I
get-
think I
changes,
remember
but-
from 20
I mean, if they
years
were
ago
sorry.
that they wanted to supply, in exchange for something squirrely, this part of Lakeport with their deep well water. And that was one of their hopes
Yeah,
that
there
they
was
could barter
a
a whole squirrely thing going on.
Okay, so I want to keep us focused,
Okay, keep
I know
focused.
there's like,
just because I only have 15 more minutes of your time and we have a little bit more to cover.
okay, I want to say one thing though.
Go ahead.
So to redesignate that Crystal Lago, whatever, that piece of property, I have a little bit of a feeling like, oh, we're just saying, take it off, it doesn't really go, let's make it all back. But they put money into that to get designated that, and to just take it away, I don't know, I don't feel very good about that.
It was
So-
a 2 year, it
Right.
expired.
It did expire. The zoning stays. That doesn't automatically revert back. So it does. It will still stay in plan development, residential, and plan development commercial. So let's say somebody wanted to do something there, they would have to come in with a new. If they weren't going to do exactly what was approved, which the latest one was an Italian villa, Mediterranean style winery centered with vineyards, and equestrian complex. If they didn't want to do that, they would have to submit a new general plan of development, which is an overarching grand plan, kind of like your own general plan. And then every project part of that would require, unless it's done all at one time, it would require major use permits as what we call specific plans of development. So they would end up spending almost as much to create their new plans as they would. But either way, they're going to have to do at least probably that process anyway, because the approval of the general plan and specific plans of development have expired. Those have lifetimes that if you're not using them, they will expire.
And I would say a lot's changed since
So
that
yes.
time period. I mean, I think,
Definitely.
given our fire history and different things, it's not a space that you're wanting to see
No.
additional residential development.
We much more prefer now to cluster and infill. instead of sort of leapfrogging and away from our cities and creating substantial residential development someplace else, we really like to keep it where our resources can protect them. Like our fire districts aren't so thinly stretched. Yeah.
So what would you like us to look at this for?
That was because Kevin was saying, yeah, that looks like the community growth boundary mirrors the availability of municipal services, and it does.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so now what?
because we didn't ask for any significant land use designation amendments, I'm not anticipating a strong impetus to change the community growth boundary, but I did want to put it before you.
I don't see a reason to change it.
I don't either.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so throw that map aside. Now we're going back to South Lakeport. And thank you for keeping me on task. All right, land use designation South Lakeport. So this is a great example of where we put the loud, stinky things on the periphery of our planning areas so that residents and our main streets aren't negatively impacted. You'll see a lot of the service commercial is all down at South Main Street. RC, that pink area, I think that's the movie theater, isn't it? Isn't that? Or no, that's industrial. That's actually the dock factory and yeah. Commercial. Where's the movie theater? I always
Light
like
pink.
You can see,
light
see
pink.
the.
It's in the red area. We also have land trust lands out here. You'll see this creek going right through there into kind of the wetlands that we're conserving or protecting.
You mean the Thule fields?
Yep. And then the green for a lot of ag land.
Yeah, Thule fields.
This is also an area that is very heavy in cultural resources. So, because the places that we liked to live in are places people have loved to live in for the last 10,000.
You'd be amazed how much
plus
cattle
years.
grazing is going on out there.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of cattle grazing.
yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
Not over there.
Not on
Not on land trust land.
resource conservation land. Okay, cool.
Kevin, can you speak to, I know that this has been within the city's sphere of influence for decades, with the understanding that it would eventually become annexed into the city. But I was wondering, Kevin, if you wanted to speak to what the city kind of hopes to see in that area.
Yeah, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version and save the 30 years of history there. But yeah, the sphere of influence for the city of Lakeport comes roughly down to where you see the resource conservation line coming through right there. It's right where the
Down to
dock
that top
factory
pink.
is, kind of in there. The city has matched its pre-zoning within the sphere of influence to match the existing zoning that's down here. But I think the important thing to keep in mind is I think the mid-90s, there was an agreement between the city and the county the county operates a sewer district in this area, but all that treated water goes to the city of Lakeport. So there's a shared agreement there, but there is no public water serving this area. So even though it's developed out as a high commercial density, high intensity use commercial, there is no public water there. So that's always been why it's in the city's sphere of influence to extend the city's water to serve that area. And I think there was an agreement when the city annexed in the Kmart property, the old Kmart property there.
The Marshall's property.
Where Marshalls and Tractor Supply are now, and then they were going to come down, at the next phase down to Highway 175 and then continue down that over a 10-year period. There's a road project through there that kind of put that temporarily on hiatus, and now it's even more complicated. I don't really want to go there.
Nope.
But there is no public water through that site.
Last where?
Past the city limit.
So the pre-zoning, which is part of an annexation process, is consistent with what is currently existing. But if I understand you correctly, we haven't really talked much about doing changes. I don't remember ever talking about it when I was on council.
I don't think there's been any real proposed projects out
Right.
there. I mean, the Premier Flooring building is new down there, but I mean, there hasn't been any large scale project piece out there. And I mean, without having public water. I mean, I think the real contention at this point is I know the Lakeport Fire Chief is pushing really heavily that there needs to be fire suppression out there serving those sites because they're currently.
Yeah.
He wants to support it. I mean,
Yeah.
you gotta have water if you're gonna do that. And
Where does
that's,
Lakeport end?
that takes the hydrant system as
Up here
as,
somewhere, yeah.
water
I think,
being out
yeah.
there.
Yeah,
So-
like all the water sprinklers at Mendo Mill, it would be nice if they had water.
Oh,
They go
my.
off. Yeah, that bad.
Well, that's-
And they're having water quality trouble
Yeah,
there too,
I
because I remember Justin was still with the movie theater when we had a meeting, and he's having to change out toilets all the time because the minerality of that water just beats right through their stuff.
That's
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
was
it
gonna
will
say some
eventually
theater
be a
has a
much
well.
improved system.
Wow.
They run basically their own water treatment plant.
Wow.
Yeah,
And they use that to make our sodas, right?
Yeah.
it's way better than the alternative.
So, a lot of these parcels that are red, chunk of them are wetlands.
Backside, you mean?
Yeah.
And you'll see that reflected in the resource conservation, how it kind of ebbs and like it grows. It should follow that. If
No,
it,
it's about following parcel lines.
well, that one kind of encapsulates that whole parcel right there. Yeah.
Because there's been,
We did remove the large pieces now in the land trust out of the city sphere of influence
Right, I
at
see
one
that.
point.
but I know because a couple of people have talked to us about giving this land like this because
Okay.
the building permit because so much of it's wetlands.
So we may want to do a policy then to do an updated water, wetland delineation study and then update our maps for that. Yeah. Okay.
Not a bad idea.
To reflect the reality.
County.
I know Tegmeyer was gonna give us, he did the parcel, the lot lines, he was gonna give us around the movie theater, because that's all wetlands, but then he, up, I think right up to the South Main Street. But then he decided just to try to sell the whole thing, after he paid for getting the lot line adjusted.
Oh,
Yeah, I know, yeah, because those are actually adjusted now, which reflects those changed parcels.
Does that include the COVID shot center drive-through?
Yeah.
all right, good. County shall conduct a wetland delineation study of the South Main Street area and update the resource conservation land use designation accordingly.
Good.
Good.
And
Got it.
Well put.
don't the wells affect those wetlands too? The people that are on wells that are drawing water, isn't that affecting the health of the wetlands?
Potentially.
That's something to consider as far as
It's just,
reason to annex those onto city.
I'm not sure, it's not like they're, I mean, it's not really heavy use in the wells, I was, maybe the movie theater periodically, but it's not like it's water-based industrial work going on there that's pulling a lot,
Parking lot.
We don't have a lot of residential out there either.
yeah.
So what are we looking again, pretty much status quo now that we know what the conditions are? I mean, I don't see, again, any pressure unless there's gonna be a hard decision to go with annexation.
Kevin would love us to have a recommendation.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we
encourage-
extend the city border to include this, so we protect all this.
Well, I think the most important thing is to provide the water system down there.
That's what- yeah.
That's being provided with a proper hydrant system as well as water distribute amongst the future of that, and it has to, and that would be the purpose of it. One major purpose besides others, why we suggest annexation go through.
So this cannot happen without annexation?
Well, when you got that contract for the city providing part, and them, it's not gonna happen.
But does the
If
city
the city-
provide?
If the city annexes this, the city takes on the responsibility of
Well,
providing
yeah.
protection.
But I
And they
mean,
have the water source to do it with.
is the, like, for example, the north part that we talked about earlier, it's not part of the city. How are they serviced and as far as hydrants and stuff?
Water tenders.
Wow.
I'm just talking about this agreement with the city of Lakeport.
You mean up on the north side?
Yeah, is
There's
there one?
there's a special district
Okay.
that provides water service out
So
there.
even though they're not annexed, they have an agreement so that they have.
No, they don't have city water. They have their own
They have
water
their
treatment
own.
plant.
Oh, okay.
But we do have,
Water.
we do have a mutual aid
intertie
agreement, yeah.
That does provide water, because
So could
those
something like that
hydrants will run out
happen?
of water in about 45 minutes if they're not connected to the city source.
What did you wish for?
45 minutes.
You only have about 45 minutes of water service in North Lakeport if you have a major fire out there.
Oh, my God.
So,
But we
so
can, we
definitely not-
can, we can turn the intertie on in less than 2.
that's
Okay.
good. So is that possible without, I mean, since annexation is such a hot topic, could this become something like that area with its own water? No?
Well,
This-
I mean,
this-
you would have to develop your own water system out there, and that's, and I'm biased to this, obviously, but, that seems to be counterproductive to
Right,
state
of course.
policy right now of,
Yeah.
where they've been encouraging the consolidation of smaller districts rather than, we have capacity, we're right there at that line.
The county did look at extending the Kelseyville, Finley water service, but it would have been a 3-mile extension to bring water all the way
And you'd
up.
have the added issue of bringing water out of the Big Valley watershed, which is in a,
Contentious.
And also, if
Contentious
you develop a lot of large water tanks or holding tanks, you can put senior living on top of each of those.
I like your big thinking.
Outside of the box,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah, we're solving multiple problems. Good, so.
Could be done. It's been done in other countries.
Right now I have the county should support the South Main Street annexation in order to extend the municipal water service for fire suppression and domestic and commercial water supply.
Yeah, and how far
that's-
that,
I
how
think-
far that extension is, I'm not sure, but as much as,
What was the last plan? How far done was it to?
well, the city's sphere of influence ends kind of right where that resource conservation line, that's not Manning Creek, but whatever.
It's an unnamed
It's
creek.
an unnamed creek that goes right through
unnamed
Its name
creek,
is
that's like in
unnamed
Harry
creek.
Potter.
Oh, that's
Because it
it.
starts up here.
Let's name it Mireya. Nothing's named
There was.
Okay, so wait a
It was on
minute.
the ballot a while back, remember the voting thing where there was about 11 votes or 11 people that voted in it?
14
Which
votes.
was really not representative of the
lost
real
11 to
need of what
3.
should be happening.
Wow, yeah,
And I see this as a very high priority
I do
if we're
too.
going to protect those buildings down there.
yep.
So,
I agree.
Kevin, are you talking about at the Ackley cutoff was the last plan or?
No, just on
It's like right around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It
the.
goes right in the middle of that pink
Yeah,
triangle.
but we didn't go on the other side of the highway
Oh,
to
okay,
it.
just on this side.
What does that mean, sphere of influence? You mean the pipe can go down that, that's as far as the water?
Without going back and doing our own map boundary with LAFCO, the local area formation committee commission that governs that, we would not be able to extend beyond that line.
A sphere of influence is where a jurisdiction says in the future we do intend to annex this area. So it's not part of the jurisdiction yet, but it's considered future expansion. Yeah.
So at least down to there, are these residents?
What we have been tentatively discussing with special districts, because there's the Kelseyville Finley Water District, there's the Corinthian Bay District and Soda Bay District. They're all, and then you also have the tribal operates their own water, right
Oh.
over there where the new gas station is.
Okay.
We have tentatively talked to them about, if the city was successful in an annexation and putting our water down there, we would be open to the discussion of providing a water service line to intertie those
Okay.
systems together to provide.
That would be
To
wise.
provide redundant.
There's another exhibit.
So we're running a little over, but I have one last exercise for you.
Okay.
And then I'll do a quick recap just to make sure I got it right, everything you pulled me.
Big map.
We have, okay, I knew that was gonna be loud, so I turned off my mic. Okay. We have a couple different options. Number one is move the area, that rectangular slice that's red dotted, broken red, move that area that includes Lamson area out of the Kelseyville area planning area into the Lakeport planning area. The second option is
That includes the airport, right?
correct. It would move the airport into the Lakeport planning area. And then the second one is take this triangular slice, so almost triangular slice that includes the rancheria and move that into the Lakeport
How do
planning
they feel
area.
about that?
You're talking about
We haven't asked them.
Canocti Rancheria.
Yep, Canocti Vista.
Is that
You
where
know,
the casino
my
is?
question is on number one, that airport, isn't that protected by the Lakeport Fire District? Not Kelseyville Fire District? And I think that's, if we're gonna be, we gotta start looking at similarities or needs of responses there. And so I would say that if it's protected by the Lakeport Fire Protection District with all the other considerations we're looking at, that should be moved in to District 4. The other one of Canocti, oh boy, that's,
What's the reason
I would
behind
leave it
it?
up to them, to the
yeah.
tribe.
That is what Kelseyville said too.
Yeah, leave it up to
The only
tribe.
caveat I would put in, I would, obviously, I think you need to reach out to the tribe and see where they're at, but I think it's worth noting that that is within the Lakeport Unified School District. So those,
Oh,
the
okay.
students on that
Yeah.
rancheria do go to the schools in the
Then
Lakeport
they might
area.
want to.
It would seem to make sense to move
Yeah.
them into Lakeport, but obviously, I think.
That would be logical,
So-
so that was the reason why.
When we adjust boundaries, it's usually as subjective as this neighborhood kind of identifies more with Lakeport than Kelseyville. The only thing it means is that any policies, objectives, or implementations that would be specific to the airport would be housed now within the Lakeport area plan rather than the Kelseyville area plan. It doesn't mean that it would be neglected or addressed or any way changed. It's actually just where it's housed in which planning area.
I'm just looking at driving time. I think Lakeport can get into the airport quicker than Kelseyville can.
Anyway, yes and maybe. I gotta ask them first.
I say yes and yes because of the school district.
Yeah,
That makes
and
it easier.
this area is what Kevin was talking about tying into.
Yeah, I mean, all this,
This is all,
all the way to Clipper, all this sewer flows into the Lakeport wastewater plant. And like I said, these kids that live out there go to school. I mean,
so the sewer
obviously
goes
take their
there.
input. I mean, if they feel like they identify greater with Kelseyville, I think. then-
Yeah, we do have a meeting with
They're
them.
going to.
Well, I think they will.
Yeah.
Not if they're kids to the schools.
But as far as we're concerned, yes and yes.
I work out here and I didn't know. Remember we were at
Yeah,
that meeting?
yeah.
I didn't know that we were not part of Lakeport.
The city.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
And
yeah.
Does that make sense to you that this
Yes.
should be annexed?
yeah.
Okie dokie. Yes and yes.
Well, not annexed.
Or not annexed, I
But,
mean.
Right.
Part of it.
Under the
I don't want to start rumors now.
No, you have to be careful.
Yeah, right.
But the sewer probably, their sewer goes into the sewer system.
Yeah, there is no sewer at the airport.
There's no sewer anywhere on this side of the freeway, really.
Just the process.
Okay,
Yes.
so then for me to capture what we've got,
I have one quick question about the northern boundary.
okay?
Just because that's where I live. And so I'm curious as to why this doesn't go to a natural boundary, like either the supervised serial District 4 boundary, or at least the Highway 20 boundary.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Something
The
logical.
supervisorial district boundaries change every 10 years after the census. And this does not mirror that timeline.
No, but
So-
it should mirror a logical
I thought
place.
there was a discussion early on of moving it up to 20.
Yeah, that's what I had said in my little survey, that it should be by Highway 20 in Blue Lakes, because Scotts Valley Road and our municipal advisory council boundary goes to that point, because it's logical, that whole valley, for us at least, and we changed it with Lon and the county. And I don't have that map, but you
Okay.
can look it up on the GIS. So basically, it goes to north of District 3.
Would that be your recommendation?
That would be my
Put the
recommendation.
Scotts Valley advisory map as the boundary?
Well, just the northern part, because the Scotts Valley advisory boundary doesn't extend to the end of the county. It goes,
But you could take whatever's
Yes.
sitting in Upper Lake and
yeah, so if you look at it, it sort of includes Scotts Valley dead ends into Highway 20, and so that's sort of where it ends. And so, you know,
Blue Lakes would remain in Upper Lake, in the Upper Lake
yes,
area.
so it's just, yeah, so Blue Lakes is part of
Wait,
the Upper Lake area, or, yeah.
but if it goes to Highway 20, this side of Blue Lakes, then it kind of severs the planning area. That's, that.
No, Blue
that-
Lakes is all to the left.
Yeah, exactly. But Blue Lakes is part of Upper Lake Nice, which right now, goes this way. And if Lakeport comes up here, then it would be Upper Lake Nice, Blue Lakes.
It's further, even.
What she's
Yeah.
talking about, that there should be
Right,
a
we'd have
dot.
to look at the map, but it just seems to
You're
me,
making an island out of it.
because what we're looking at right now is moving boundaries to their logical place, like either by ideology or by geology, or some other kind of way of identifying with an area. And so it makes sense. I mean, most of the land out there is BLM, so it would just be, so nobody is affected in that area at all,
Okay.
except for the people who live in Scotts Valley, who are all, except for the toppest part of Lakeport zip code.
So I think you'd be talking about the recommendation or something would read to consider amending the northern boundary
To
of the
with-
Lakeport area plan to
Highway 20.
encompass, well, no, just to encompass the
Scotts
Scotts
Valley.
Valley Advisory Committee
Yeah.
boundary,
Good, that's what I
Council
get.
council boundary.
Council
Good,
boundary.
that's what I've got. Okay. Let's add that in
Thank you.
and see what Upper Lake Nice thinks about it.
Yeah, okay.
Blue Lake, do the kids who live on Blue Lake, do they go to Upper Lake or do they go to Lakeport? But we take a bus, we do all of Scotts Valley, I used to work for the
Yeah.
Lakeport School District. But we do all of Scotts Valley. And all the kids that live in Scotts Valley,
Except for 10 houses at the end of Scotts Valley.
because
And
it's
so that's why we increased their Scotts Valley boundary to include those 10 houses,
So
so that
let's-
they have a voice.
And so, Mark, can you recap what you got?
Oh, I totally forgot that part. Yes. Okay. I was thinking about getting Sam home at a good time. All right. Where am I? Bob Gardner's project got consensus for approval to change a portion of that one parcel to high-density residential. Commercial should be considered along major roadways for future development. The group is interested in additional areas for local commercial and mixed use land use designations. Recommend the Crystal Lago project be changed back to rural lands or rural residential based on slope. County shall conduct a wetland delineation study of the South Main Street area and update the resource conservation land use designation accordingly. The county should support the South Main Street annexation in order to extend the municipal water service for fire suppression and domestic and commercial water supply. Lamson Airport should be moved into Lakeport because it is within the Lakeport Fire District. Rancheria, yes, because the kids go to the Lakeport School District, and I missed the second one that Kevin said. And then, and also consider modifying the northern boundary of the planning area to include the Scotts Valley Municipal Advisory Council boundary and excluding Blue Lakes.
You are so good, how'd you do that?
I can write.
For
Here's a
Rancheria
I can
was-
type
Why
fast.
don't you get some big
Yeah.
bucks?
The other one was for Rancheria.
Oh, you used to do
because
court-
They,
She was trained very well as a
yes,
city.
Yeah.
it's our sewer, their sewer.
Sewer district, thank you. Yeah, Kevin was my supervisor.
Oh, no, I don't take credit for her note-taking ability. That
Yeah.
happened when she had.
When I had to
know.
sit up there for 7.5 years, yeah. Try to follow the board.
What's the next meeting?
Good question. Next meeting. My phone, hold on, my calendar.
I emailed you.
I got, yes, you did. I also got the Zoom. when I
Okay.
did the Zoom, which you had thought was in person. You had it switched.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
But that's okay. I talked on your behalf.
Did the comments?
She talked well.
We do not have another Lakeport meeting. We do need to schedule one because one of the deliverables of our virtual meeting was to go over the existing policies, objectives, and implementations to see what we want to keep, change, or discard. So, crap, I need to... So what I'm going to need to do, given our timelines, is our staff has assembled just a table or a listing of all of the current policies, and then a column to the left so we could enter, keep, discard, or change. I'm going to turn that into a Google Doc, and I'll share that with the LAPAC and anybody who else would be interested in taking a look at it. I'll send you a link to where you can add in edits or do your keep, change, discard in that left column. And at the end of the week, maybe sometime early next week, I'll take a look at that. If we have areas that we really need to have discussions on, we can set another virtual meeting at that time. Does that sound fine? Okay, so if you'd like to be included in that mailing,
Put the email on our.
put your email on the sign-in sheet, please.
Also, with this group right here tonight, is Wednesday a good night for everybody?
We're not going to have in-person meetings much anymore because we're almost done with LAPAC season. That would be a virtual meeting, yeah. So, oh, good question.
I got meetings, I'm on other committees, Thursday and Friday night, so.
Wednesdays?
Wednesdays works good for.
That's helpful for me.
Does it
I have
work good
Tuesdays
for
and
you?
Thursdays.
Okay, so I'll look to next week. I have, Clear Lake Hitch Summit, government to government, I think. So that's all day. Tuesday, are Tuesdays,
Depends what time of day.
okay, we have no board meeting on that day, so I'm free. I know, it's beautiful.
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday the 19th, so not Thanksgiving week.
No board meeting that day?
No, because they're not gonna have quorum. I think they're gonna be at stuff.
It's a council meeting, right, that you're talking about.
Okay, but, okay, so avoid council time, 3:30,
Tuesday?
4?
Tuesday?
I
Yeah,
have
we could do
something
at 4, that would still get out before council, but it's kind of pushing it.
3 would,
This
well,
would
how
be
long will it go
specifically to
for?
view policies?
Yes.
Look at the policies.
Yeah, taking a look at the current area plan and seeing if there's anything we want to change.
What,
Most of the stuff that I've done with the other LAPAC so far, we're not throwing out much. There are some clearly outdated implementations because we already got them done. But a lot of what is in there is very similar to what will stay. Ongoing projects regarding maintaining, restoring, supporting, all that stuff is stay. So you'll see when you go through that document, I'm going to focus on things that we want to change, just to make sure that I get that right.
How long do you think the meeting will be?
90 minutes is all I can do.
Okay, so
Then I
have
stop
something
caring.
before,
Okay,
but I can skip it.
all right, so tentatively, Tuesday, November 19th at 4.
Hey Cornelia, it's better than 2 meetings a month with only 3 people each.
Yeah,
This is an ag meeting.
I know.
So,
Luckily, we haven't had planning areas with really significant changes. A lot of it has been just make sure we're saving our rural character, our natural beauty, and
Sure, though, nothing's changed. Sure,
you have a special meeting